What's up, everybody? Welcome back to a special episode of Real Estate Uncensored. I am Matt Johnson, and it's been a while since I've been on the show, but I'm here with a special guest, a friend and client of mine who's launching a brand new podcast called Ambitious Agents. So we're going to get together and talk about seller leads, what to do if you are not a huge fan of the phone, you're not a cold caller, but you still want to work with more clients and want to sell more homes. And we're also going to talk about reviews and why they're important and where it's important to get them, because it's not what you think. So there's a whole bunch of fun stuff we got to get into. We got limited time, but we're going to cover a lot of ground in the short time that we have together. So I know Greg has been doing a bunch of episodes lately. We have probably a special episode coming up with me and Greg here in the next couple weeks that we hope to record to give you some a big announcement. But today we're just going to hang out with my friend Dustin. Dustin, what's going on, man?
Hey, Matt, thank you for the introduction. Excited to be here. Very special episode. That sounds exciting. Like in the 80s, when you had a very special episode, it was like some kids on drugs or something.
That's so true. On a very special episode of Family Ties. As somebody found a baggie of something in somebody's bedroom. Okay. First of all, that's hilarious and true. Okay. So Dustin Fox, you're based in DC metro area. There's, you and I came together because you were briefly co-hosting a show that we produced that was kind of, for a brokerage that was out in your area that you're still part of, but the host of that show decided to go in a different direction. And in the meantime, you went off and built a big old team, and are doing tons and tons and tons of production. So give people a little bit of an insight into where you are, the size of the production that you're doing, and the size of the team, so they get a sense of kind of what perspective you're coming from.
Yeah. I've had a team for 3 years. I've been licensed for 8.5 years. Was successful solo agent for a long time, 18 months in. My wife got licensed with me. But we were just doing the husband and wife thing, just the two of us, for a long time. And then during COVID, she was talking to me about, hey, let me see your step counter. And she's like, you're getting 15, 20,000 steps every single day on the phone. And it's not always with clients. It's normally agents. Like, you're just doling out advice constantly. You can't help but teach. And I said, babe, I don't want to do this. I don't want to be a team lead, because I managed like anywhere from 200 to 50 people over 17 years of retail management between Bed Bath & Beyond and Pottery Barn. And I'm like, I just want to be responsible for myself. And she's like, this is a line you're telling yourself. Like, you can't help yourself but try to put your 2 cents in on everything. And I really think you should do this. And she was right. I started it. And then as soon as I did it, the competitive nature in me, I was like, I want to be number one. And we're not there yet locally in our market. We're like top 5 in terms of teams. But we did that in 3 years. In 3 years, we've done about $400 million in business as a team. And, we did 170 million last year. We're on pace to do over 200 million this year. And our goal is, in like the next 3 to 5 years, be number one in our market. And then the next 10 years, be number one in the country. So I'm constantly, like, every day it's getting nice out again. It's spring, and every day my wife and I will do like a 5-mile walk together. And every walk I say to her, what could be possible in our business in 5 years? And she says, if you ask me that fucking question again, I'm going to leave you.
Yeah, I was going to say, how far you've progressed is probably already good enough for her. Yeah.
Well, she's just like, not everything needs to revolve around this. I really enjoy what I'm doing, and it's all I think about all the time. I've never had a job where this is all I want to be doing at all times. Like, she's like, why can't you just relax and not do anything for like 5 minutes? And I'm like, because my mind's racing. I'm like thinking of an idea. As soon as I sit down, I think of an idea that I got to try. Yeah. So.
Love it.
But kind of my big aha in terms of, you mentioned the reviews, my big aha was during COVID. My dad came over to see my puppy. This was like at the very beginning of COVID, when people weren't going in each other's houses. So we got a Saint Bernard, and he came over, and we're outside in the yard, and my dad, being the boomer he is, he's like, sees all of my Amazon boxes, and he's like, son, what are you doing? You're shopping too much. And I'm like, Dad, this is literally how everybody shops now. In fact, the stores are going to close like any day now. So this is how you're going to shop too. Yeah. And he's like, I like to touch and feel things. And I'm like, okay, Pop. And then like 2 months later, I go to his house to bring my dog over there, still in the yard, and I see all of the Amazon boxes in front of his house.
Right.
And I start razzing him a little bit. And I'm like, so, oh, look at you. He's like, oh, it's actually really great. I just like look at what has the most reviews and I don't even need to think. I just hit click.
Mm-hmm.
And for whatever reason, we all know reviews are important, but that was a light bulb moment for me.
Okay.
It was like my dad, the boomer,
Right.
when he said, I don't even have to think, I was like, okay, I need to get a collection of people together and buy into this team concept, and say, you're sacrificing your own personal Google reviews because having 25 to 100 5-star reviews, there's no differentiation there. You have to win. The only way to win is to win. So you have to win. So we went from, not even being on the chart in the top 20 or 30 teams or agents and reviews, and we got everybody together and we said it's going to be better for us all if we collectively do this. And in return, they have to trust me as the team lead, that on our Google local service ads and on our website calls, we have 6 people on those calls every month, and I don't get on them. They answer those calls and they get the business opportunities because they sacrificed their business reviews. So we have everybody bought in on it. And we went from 100 or 200 from just myself and Devon to having like 1,635 as of this recording. And I think we're possibly number one in the entire country. If I Google a specific city, I'm not seeing anybody with as much as us. And, there's a lot of things that you can do. Like once you have that number and you're winning, you're getting the calls.
Yeah. Well, back up for me for a second, because I've reviewed people that have won in similar ways, but this, a few years ago, they won by being the top agent in their market on Zillow reviews. And for a while that was, they were really talking about that a lot. And that was a big thing. So what, you had this really incredible insight about just how important reviews are, but you could have easily, just gone and build that platform on Zillow. Why did you choose Google instead? And what advantage does it give you?
Well, Zillow now is making, because of the NAR commission stuff, they've been trying to prepare this with Zillow Listing Showcase and Zillow Seller Leads. So they're trying to make a bigger focus, but people fundamentally go to Zillow to search for a home. Like people barely, even before when we were paying for Zillow Leads, like 6-7 years ago, we might get 1 or 2 deals, even though we were leading in reviews in that city that we were paying for reviews. We were only get like 1 or 2 sales of people calling us. So it's just fundamentally a place where people go to shop for buyers. When people are shopping for sellers, they're going to either have a connection with somebody, which is most of the case, or they're going to use a friend or a family member for referral, or they're going to Google realtors near me. So the biggest mistake I made in my business was, in the beginning, I was told only worry about Zillow reviews. And that's what I thought was important. So that's all I did for the first 5-6 years of my business. It wasn't until about 4 or 5 years ago that I even started getting Google reviews. And once I started focusing on like the Google local pack of 3 and getting ranked higher on Google, and then as soon as I got number 1 there, they came out with Google local service ads. And now people aren't even scrolling to get down to the local pack anymore. So all the work that agents have done to do that, people are just seeing Google local service ads. And I would much rather spend $50 to $60 for a lead from Google local service ads than to Upnest or Homelight or Dave Ramsey, where you're given 30-40% of your commission out. So you want that lead to go directly to you, where you can earn your entire commission.
Yeah, totally. So it's worth it for you to spend more money on the front end because the leads are good quality and they're seller leads, which is a key insight in and of itself. Okay. So you're looking at Zillow going, I could build my reviews things there, but I don't want to just get a bunch of buyer leads. So this leads us into, we'll talk about this more later when we talk about YouTube, but you understood kind of fairly early that you didn't want to just generate a bunch of buyer leads, even though that's what a lot of people have done. That's the first thing people do when they go advertise on something like Facebook or anything like that. They go straight to advertising their listings and generating maybe some buyers off of that. Or they do, the how much is my home worth landing pages and things like that, maybe. And that can work, but it's never really worked spectacularly well. All the team leaders that I know that have really relied on online lead gen, they've all been about buyer leads. So yeah, like it seems like fairly early you were keyed in on trying to find a way to not generate that kind of lead. Do you remember where that came from?
Well, I mean, it came from, like the Red Bible or whatever they call it,
The Red Book, yeah.
Gary Keller's Millionaire Real Estate Agent. Like, you read List to Last, and you start to get buyers and sellers from your listings. And I was on a Zillow lead team and closed 29 deals my first year. But about 6 months in, I went off of the leads. I had a lot pending. I said, I'm going to take this money and pay for my own leads. I quickly realized like the amount that my team lead was getting for the volume discount versus me paying for them myself, my business took a little dip. So I said, okay, I'm watching some videos on calling expired and withdrawals. I paid for Vulcan. I watched the videos. I tried for a week to do it. And then I realized like I'm competing against people that have been calling expired and withdrawals for 10, 15, 20 years. And I'm going to have to really, hustle to get as good with scripts and everything as good as these guys. And I just honestly didn't like it. And I was afraid. Like my body was literally like rejecting it. Like getting heart palpitations, everything. And I'm like, people that are like experienced in expires are like, oh God, this guy's what a wimp. But I said, okay, I'm reading all these books on advertising and direct marketing, like the Dan Kennedys of the world. And I said, okay, why don't I try something? Why don't I try from left field? And I'm going to do a sequential letter, and I'm going to put my entire value prop. And when I send it out, I'm going to have no business affiliation on the envelope. It's going to be lumpy mail. It's going to feel lumpy. So they're going to get it. It's going to be handwritten on the outside. I'm going to have my value proposition in each letter. And I know from David Ogilvy telling me you're not advertising to a standing army. You're advertising to a moving parade, meaning like, just because what you said in the first letter, you still have to say it again in the second, and the third, and the fourth. You just have to change it up a bit.
You never know where they're at in the moving parade of interest. Yeah.
Exactly. So you're delivering kind of the same message, but a little bit differently in each letter. And I did it for 2 months. I spent 4 to 6 hours a day handwriting these letters. And it was just a hunch. And it was just very time consuming. I remember exactly where I was on Route 7 in Sterling, Virginia. And a guy called me and he goes, it wasn't about anything that I said. He said, hey, is this Dustin? I said, yes. And he goes, if I interviewed at my house, will you stop sending me these damn calendar magnets? And I was like, Eureka, it works. Like I knew then, I'm like, okay, it's working. I just need to finish it off. And I was in like a letter 4 or 5 of like a 7-letter sequence. And I started getting them. And then I said, why am I writing to $700,000 houses if it worked? Let's do it to luxury homes. And I started getting luxury listing experience under my belt and selling houses that had been under other agents for like 5-6 times that they weren't able to sell. And then I was leveraging that success to other luxury agents and said like, look, this they tried to list it with 5 other agents. I never mentioned them, but like these brokerages tried to sell it. They weren't able to do it. This is how we did it step by step. So I built it up, and then I did enough business that I didn't have to do it anymore because the listings have now fueled the rest of it. But for me, like the buy side was like the path to least resistance. Like, of course, a new agent is going to prefer buyer leads because they're not having to sell them anything. Now with everything, they probably will be having to sell themselves more.
Yeah, that's very true.
Yeah, but I liked the pressure. I work better when people are counting on me. And I like the pressure that I felt from a seller. And this was like 2015. It wasn't a strong market. 2016, it wasn't a strong market. And, some of these houses I did like 25, 26 open houses for before I actually sold it. Oof. So.
Yeah, that is brutal. Holy cow. Yeah. So I want to drive home a couple of things to the audience. So I would say with the exception of aggregating your reviews together, like Dustin, you talked about, you kind of got your whole team to come together and you got them to trust you to like, hey, let's join up as a team so we can collect all of our reviews under one heading. But I would say most of the rest of your lead gen stuff works just as well for an individual agent as it does for a team. We'll get into some YouTube ad stuff. Like you attack that per agent, per suburb. It's not like all these things only work at scale. Maybe there's some other examples of things that you do that have some advantage at scale. But like if you're a regular agent listening to this is all stuff you can learn from, because Dustin, you did it yourself first, and now you're taking those things and you're expanding it out to your agents, not like the Air Force, like all top down, everybody's the same. Like you're able to literally expand it out one agent, one suburb at a time. That's what I understand.
Yeah, in fact, it actually works better a suburb at a time, because otherwise your ads are too scattered and diffused.
Yeah.
Like if if I tried to go Washington D.C., population is too big, but where I live in Centerville, 79,000 people. So it's a easier area to target. And then if you're going specific suburb, you're talking to more of an individual person in your videos.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm saying, Centerville homeowners, here's your market update in 60 seconds. And it's a quick video. I'm going through the market, professionally filmed, because it is showing up in 4K on their TVs, but they're seeing you consistently every single month. And to them, you're talking to them. You're targeting a Centerville homeowner, or where you insert whatever city they're advertising in. So when I was able to make that a success for us, then we're taking agents and saying, you're going to do this city and you're going to do this city. And as long as they're running those ads, they have exclusivity to those suburbs and cities. And we don't bring anybody in or let anybody else like advertise against them, because it's just going to make everybody's ad costs go up.
Right. Okay, so that gives us a good kind of segue into the strategy. So you gave an indication of, or an overview of like one type of the video that you do. I don't think that's the only type of video that you do, but that's a good example, right? It's just one of the several types as a market update, right? So give us an idea of just the overall, like how did the idea first come? Because again, when most agents think of YouTube, if they were to go out there and look at what other agents are doing, it's all the, hey, move to Orlando, move to Dallas, Texas. It's all community focused. It's super specific videos on individual neighborhoods and suburbs, and it ends up all being aimed at buyers. So again, they end up just generating a bunch of buyer leads. Your stuff is not generating buyer leads. Your stuff is generating seller leads. So what was the original insight, the original spark of the idea that got you down that path to YouTube?
Well, I don't know if this is a national company, but I know the exact moment. We're sitting in my basement, and my 15-year-old, who I love her to death, but she barely talks to me. She's like sitting next to me on her phone, and the carpet commercial comes on, and it's like 877-241 Luna, and she's not even looking up at her phone, but she just starts singing it, and I'm like watching the commercial, and then right after that was like an HVAC commercial, and I'm watching the game, and I'm like, why aren't real estate agents running direct response commercials with the Chiron or whatever you call it, phone number, email address? And I'm like, with YouTube, I know I could say, are you looking to sell your Centerville home? And like, boom, boom, boom. Like everything is filmed and very easily recognizable locations in Centerville.
Yeah.
And then we're filming everything there. So that's the right hook of, like, if we're doing a jab, right hook from Gary Vee, that's the right hook. So, but I'm really doing like 3 jabs and a right hook in terms of my monthly video strategy. Like that's the right hook, because that's the ask, like use us. And if I ran that for 8 months before I got a phone call to list their house, it wasn't until I started promoting my book and filming video content and started doing more jab stuff about, I had 8 videos to run, and I would do 4 about Centerville. So it was like how we help sellers get, 7 steps into getting a bidding war. It was the market update. It's a client video testimonial. Mm-hmm. So I'm running 3 of those that aren't asking for anything, that are educational. Mm-hmm. And then I'm running 1 video that's just like the direct response commercial.
Right. And that was the key to unlock the effectiveness of the ask video.
Oh, huge. I mean, right after we started running all of the videos, it was everybody recognizing us, everybody in our city coming up to us. My wife will not go out anywhere in Centerville without having hair and makeup done, because somebody is going to say something to us. And it's fun. Like we're out at Sweetwater and we're having dinner, and the servers come up to us. We get people bring us dessert like we're famous. It's just like real estate content.
That's hilarious.
So we're and the kids really give us a hard time about it because their friends like snap them like it's always like slay Devon. It's nothing about me ever.
Okay.
It's just whatever my wife is in, they're just like giving her
Yeah.
kudos. So,
So,
you know,
so you've discovered through your YouTube videos that everyone likes your wife better than you, apparently.
yeah, I mean it's a tough world we're living in.
That's right. Okay. So, so you're running this strategy. It's worked for you. Now you're expanding it to agents. What do you think is the biggest challenges that agents would have in setting out to do something like this for themselves?
So, I mean, I had this moment. So I'm doing a talk at our brokerage about my book, and one of my own team members is in the back, and she hears me. And after I'm done with the book talk, she goes, "Dustin, I am sold." I'm like, "I've been telling you this for like the last year and you're not doing it. Why are you're sold now? Because you hear me talking to other people about it." But she's like, "I have $12,000 to spend this year." And I was like, "That's going to be tough because you need like $1,000 for advertising. And then you have to pay for to have somebody professionally film this, which cost me like $1,500 for like 8 videos with a local videographer." And then, so I'm like, you add that up, that's like $18,000 plus the $12,000 budget. It all adds up to being a pretty expensive endeavor. Um, and another agent on my team said, "You know, Dustin, not everybody has money to do that." And then like I got shown a group message that was like, "Does Dustin think we're all rich?" And like he's being flippant about money. And it was like, as a leader, I read that and I was like, it was hard to
That'd be
hear.
hard to hear.
Yeah, but then the next day I thought about it and I said, okay, like I need to take this advice and like sometimes budget constraints can bring out the best ingenuity. So I said, okay, I'm gonna bring everything in house. I'm gonna create a video studio in the office. I've spent like $15,000 to do this, so I can take that part of it out. I can take that part cost wise out for them, and then she could use her entire $12,000 budget, $1,000 a month for that. But for the average agent, you don't have to do everything professional. You can film on your phone, but the reason why I advised against it is because like I think when people that are big on video are giving you advice of like, you don't need anything but the phone that's in your hand. I think it's true for social media content. But when you're broadcasting 4K on somebody's TV, you want it to look polished.
Yeah. It makes a difference.
You don't want them thinking their home tour is going to be on their phone,
right?
You know, so that's why I said like Steve Jobs would say, when you're recruiting somebody, find somebody that's doing good work and hire them. And that's the same way with the videographer. Whoever in your town is creating the best talking head videos, invest in that. Long term, they'll probably give you a discount if you sign like a 12-month contract. And if you're paying for that, you're going to use it. You're going to use it on your social media and you're going to use it for YouTube ads. And this is all done. Like you can put in the show notes a link to the book because I have tutorials on how to do all of this stuff. It's very easy. It sounds difficult, but it's like you can watch a 5-minute video and learn how to do it. It's very simple.
Yeah. And let me add some context here. So a couple things. Number one, you weren't doing this until you were already doing a good number of deals and taking a lot of listings by the lumpy mail strategy, which you can do. That is scaled down to 1. You can literally send 1 mailer a week to 1 homeowner and keep, like you can scale up to 5, you can do 10, you can do 500, you can do that, like whatever you can handle or as little as you can handle. Like if you have no budget, it's not like there's no solution. It's not like the only answer is to go on social media and try to be Gary Vee. It's like, no, get into some really good, solid direct mail, send people handwritten letters, generate referrals. There's all kinds of stuff you can do. You didn't jump into the YouTube ad stuff until you had the budget and you had the money coming in to do something with. And the question is, what am I going to do that with? And just to give people, a comparison, if this were the 80s and you were talking about Dan Kennedy's direct mail protege, Craig, and of course, Craig Proctor, right? Craig Proctor was farming neighborhoods of thousands upon thousands of homes. Well, what do you think he was spending? He's spending several $1,000s a month sending direct mail pieces to homeowners at home. It's like once you get to that level, you're going to spend $1,000 or $3,000 because it comes back to you in commissions. The only question is, what do you spend it on, right? So for people that are listening going, well, I'm not made of money. there's plenty of other things you can do to get to the point where you have a couple of grand a month to spend on marketing. That's what we're talking about, is once you hit that level, what do you spend it on? It's like, well, you could go and farm and do old school stuff like old school direct mail, or you can do this, which seems to be much more effective and scalable.
I think if I had like just the sweat equity or a very smaller budget, I would go back to what I did, what we already talked about. But to be more specific, there's a great book, Ultimate Sales Machine by Chet Holmes, and he talks about like finding your dream 100 clients. Yeah. So in your case, it would be like a dream 100 expired, canceled, or FSBOs that these are your dream clients. You want to get a list of 100, and you want to spend 4 to 6 hours a day handwriting letters to them, and you want it to be you want it to be educational in nature. You want it to say, this is the absorption rate in your neighborhood. This is what the market's up to. Like, whether it's good or bad news, you're just informing them. You're giving them information every single month. And just like everything else, when you start writing these letters, when you're putting pen to paper, ideas are going to flash. Action is going to, when you're putting things in action, like ideas will start coming to you and say, "Ooh, why didn't I say this in the last letter?" And every letter you write is going to progressively get better and better and better. And it's going to test your will, because you're going to be a month and a half, possibly 2 months in, like I was. And you're going to be spending a lot of money on stamps, and you're going to be like, this isn't working for me, and you're going to quit. But that whole rule of 7 in marketing, where it takes somebody 7 times to see something, that's why there's 7 letters, is we don't typically get calls until between letter 5 and letter 7. And if you complete the 7 and you're giving them things like this, like a calendar magnet, sounds tacky, you put that in every one of them. And I'm telling you, when they call you, you're going to go in, they're going to have 3 of those things on their fridge.
Yeah, I remember longtime listeners will know this story. Greg's dad had been sending market updates by mail to people in their area in Danville for many years. He went into a listing one time. This is Greg's dad we're talking about. And it was an older gentleman. He's like, yeah, I knew I had to call you because I've been getting your stuff for so damn long. He's like, he brings out like a shoebox filled with Greg's dad's newsletters that had just been mailing for month after month for year after year after year. The guy saved him. Partially because he's just impressed by the persistency. It's like, all right, I got to have this guy in. There's something to be said for that. So let's talk about the book and the podcast. So we're obviously launching a show for you called Ambitious Agent, which I'm super excited about. But that was piggybacking off the book, which people can get right now. So tell people first about the book.
So the book idea, it's called 6 Weeks to Real Estate Success, and it has a little bit of like a 3-minute abs type of title. Like, clearly you're going to have to keep working past 6 weeks. But the idea is, like, you do this week 1, and then there's a video tutorial. There's no coaching or anything sold on the inside the book. You do this week 2 video tutorial all the way through 6 weeks. And I promise you, when you're done with the book, it's going to change your business and your life, because this book did not exist for agents that don't understand, like, they're paying somebody to run Google PPC or Facebook ads, or they need like a step-by-step tutorial on how to do an open house or a client event or SEO, all of these things. And I really did them. Don't skip ahead and like you're getting excited about the YouTube stuff that I said now. Like, you want to start with the fundamentals. In week 1 of like exporting all of your contacts from your phone, inviting them all to a client event, because these are the people that already know, like, and trust you. Doing that first, and then taking the time to mine that data and putting it into your CRM and adding their contacts is what's going to be the most impactful for your business. So go cover to cover, week 1 to week 6, and it's going to change your business.
Yeah. 100% agreed. It's one of the best books I've seen on real estate specifically. Like, if you look at books like Millionaire Real Estate Agent, they're incredible, but they are idea and concept driven, right? Dustin's book is extremely practical, hands-on. Like, it is a handbook for action. So there are screenshots, there's step-by-step directions. Dustin, you already plan to continually modify and update that. So it's not like you come back a year from now and it's all outdated stuff. Like, you want it to be a continually updated handbook for action with step-by-step directions that are continuously updated. So if you're listening to this a year from now, don't get thrown by that. Like, still go to Amazon because it'll be the latest edition. So go get that right now. Because I don't see many books in real estate like that. I see a lot of stuff that's high level, idea driven, conceptual, or just motivational, inspirational, which is fine. But this is like, yeah, if you want to get into it, and especially if you want to do what you've done, Dustin, which is you have essentially made yourself micro famous in the space where you actually want to live and sell in. You've done it without hitting the phones for 3 hours a day, and without becoming a little Gary Vee clone on social media, which is essentially the only two things that agents are told to do, if they're told to do anything at all. It's one of those two things. And I love that you found a completely different way to get to the end result in a way that fit your personality.
Well, I appreciate that. And I like the way, I mean, I need to start describing my book the way you described it, because that's not what I'm into. Like, I hate a business book that is like 12 chapters, but it could have been one chapter. Yeah. And it's like the first half is like some hero's journey stuff. And I'm like, I don't care that you got in a car accident. No offense, but good Lord, I just like get to the meat and the potatoes. Mm-hmm. And that's how I feel, is like, just get to the point of the book. And that's kind of exactly what I was going for.
You did. You accomplished that. You get right into the the meat and potatoes is in chapter 1. So yeah, no hero's journey stuff and fluff in the front of the book. Okay, so let's talk about the podcast. So what's the goal, and what kinds of conversations are people going to hear on Ambitious Agent?
I want them to hear. I'm pretty anti-coaching. People will ask me constantly, like, okay, so if I read the book, then can I pay you to be a coach? And I'm like, no, I'm sorry, that doesn't really give me energy. I want you to listen to this, and I want to inspire you to take action on your own and realize, like, this is the best time to be a real estate agent that it's ever been. Like, the good news is every single thing that you would need to be successful in the business, YouTube, podcasts, books, the internet, everything, all of the information is available to you right now. The bad news is you have no excuse not to read it and know your business from A to Z. So I want to help you know your business from A to Z, and all the marketing tips and tricks that you're going to have to pay some coach, $1,300 a month to do. I want you to just listen to the podcast weekly and take some action in your business, and be the type of agent that does things while everyone else is still just talking about them.
I love that. I mean, I'm a bigger fan of coaching because I know it can be effective, but it's not effective if people go into it and look at the act of being in a coaching program as job done, right? I wrote the check. I showed up to the call. It's like, yeah, that's just to keep you on track. All the real results come from the stuff you do outside the coaching call anyway. So, I mean, for me, I haven't had a business coach in a long time because I do exactly what you just said. I listen to podcasts, I take in books, and I implement what I hear in a systematic, methodical way. And that's worked really, really well for me. So yeah, like I love that idea of just get in there, listen to the show, take action on what you hear, implement something every week, and you'll be way ahead of most of the people in coaching. And I know that for a fact.
Yeah, I hope so. I do like my podcast coach, though. He's all right.
I know. All right, guys. So first of all, thanks to everybody for listening. Make sure to go. So by the time you hear this, Ambitious Agents will probably be live, especially if you're listening to this a couple weeks after its initial release. So go over and look it up on Apple, look it up on Spotify, subscribe on whatever, favorite platform that you like to listen to podcasts. Make sure to get that. Go to Amazon, get Dustin's book, 6 Weeks to Real Estate Success, and make sure you get that in the mail to you. A nice physical hard copy book that you can take with you and dive into. Or you can also, I believe, get the Kindle version, right?
Yep.
Kindle version.
Yeah. Hardcover, paperback, Kindle.
Perfect.
I'm slow to do Audible because I'm old school, and the book is like, it has QR codes and videos that you need to watch that are in there that are
hard to
don't
convey
translate
through audio.
on an Audible.
So make sure that you get that in either the physical copy or the Kindle version. So And then for us, obviously, leave a review. Just first of all, thank you to everybody for watching, listening, supporting Real Estate Uncensored over these many, many years. You guys have been awesome. We really appreciate you. I know Greg appreciates you. So I'm sorry he couldn't be here to hang out with Dustin, because he would have loved this conversation and would have spent another hour, Dustin, picking your brain. So in that sense, I'm glad Greg's not here, because now I can go eat lunch.
I get it. Yep.
All right, guys. Thank you so much for listening. We'll see you next time.